Are you tired of the default quest log in the game? Because it is pretty simple, pretty basic, but sometimes it doesn't even look and match the aesthetic of all these different things you got going on. I have a lot of different add-on videos here on the channel, and this now no longer matches with some of the clean aesthetics that I have going on. So I've upgraded now to Kaliel's quest tracker right here. Ooh, look at that thing. Nice and pretty, and it's fully customizable to fit whatever UI that you're wanting to look for. I like a little bit of purple accent, clean black, looks nice. And I have a macro that I can completely, with a keybind of a simple button press, make it go away entirely. If I'm not questing or don't care about questing type things, or it's right here and it's right there. And it has super simple filter features that I can filter by zone, and it automatically filters everything by zone. So now this is the only quest that I have in this zone. If you're leveling and go into a dungeon, it changes to only show those dungeon quests. If you're leveling and go to a different spot or different zone of the map, it only shows those quests. If you're doing world quests at max level content, you go to that zone, it only shows that zone. Actively and dynamically updating. And it also shows all the different things that you have as far as quest items that pop up here. It has so many different things and so many really cool features that I want to break down for you. So for the sake of this filter thing, I'm going to actually turn off the thing and show all of them right now, just so you get a full look of what the quest log looks like whenever we go and dive into this thing. So in order to get into the settings here, we're going to do /KT, which is actually the command to make it smaller and everything, but they have a key binding in that as well. So /KT space config, and it pops up Kaliel's quest tracker, and here's all the interface we're going to. Or of course you can always press options and go to your add-ons. It's the very top one, and we have some options here. So in general, all of the modules, you can actually change the sorting of how this sorts as far as quest and campaign. You can see the campaign is higher up and the quests are further down. I could switch those, and now the quests are up top and campaign quests are further down, but that doesn't make sense. So you can organize these to best customize fit yourself, and some achievements. You can throw achievements in there as well. This is the way that I currently have it set up. Supported add-ons I don't usually mess with, and LFG hacks, I leave that on. That's just a cool little feature that they have. And profiles. This is the thing that I always do. So I always highly recommend with any add-on that you ever use, start a profile. So I am, for the sake of this video, I'm going to do a YouTube test. I'm going to create a new profile. It's going to reload my UI. And this is now what it looks like in the default setup that whenever you first get it, you'll be able to have. You can't really move it around. Whenever you click on this, it can minimize all these things. So, and you can scroll as well as you, and we're going to get into all of this. This is the default settings. So back to the tracker now. If I go back to the profiles, this is where I can actually copy from and go back to my original settings, which I will do right now. Okay, so now we have a brand new profile that I can mess up for the sake of this video. That's the exact same copied from my original one that we're going to go through. And again, you can change all of these settings to be however you want. You're going to go to the Kaliel's tracker, and all of the settings are right here in this one menu right here. So let's start going through it. The anchor point is going to be the top right, top left. In general, this is, I wish you could kind of drag and move it around, but they have a very robotic setup here. So I have mine anchored to the top right because that's where I want the quest to go. And you can change the X offset to be whatever you want. You can change the Y offset to be whatever you want. I move my Y offset right up to my map to where it's just barely, there you go, right there, it's fine. Max height, this is important. I'm going to click the show overlay, and this shows the actual space that the quest tracker can be contained within. So I'm going to actually slide this here to make it open up right there, and you can see I can make it. And if I make it shorter here, now it's scrollable. And if I wanted the quest tracker to only exist within this little spot because my add-ons in certain places and I don't want it to overlap, I can make a smaller window and scroll up and down if you want. I personally, the right side of my screen, if for whatever reason I wanted to have all of that, I would want to have it opened up all the way down to where my damage meter's at. So I match it up right there. I can turn off that green filter, and now if I get more quests, it'll fill up until it gets here, and then it'll start the scroll thing again. So there you go. And then we move on to the next part, the background. For the background and borders here, so many customization options to make this thing look the way you want, to match it into whatever UI you have. I choose solid. There's a whole bunch of different options you can see here, like parchment paper or whatever. I choose solid, and then you can go to background color, and I chose solid with black being the color, and I have the opacity. You can make it straight black, or you can have it straight be invisible, the whole thing. You can't really see it, so I usually fade it in right about there, so you can barely see the background behind it. You could slant it and make it a little bit more purple. Oh, that looks terrible. So you get the idea. Border texture, I have none, but you can change the actual border around this thing. Again, for my background, I don't like to have anything like that, so I just have the border be none. But you can change the border thickness and insert and border colors. You can have it be a border color based on your class color if you have class themed based UIs. I also just realized this in the sake of this, but all of my progress bar textures are solid. So I'm going to go down here to solid, and now this quest bar is solid. You can change what the color of that bar texture is right there. As far as the font and text, I do keep it the Fritz Quadra TT or whatever. It looks fine. It looks familiar, so I'm going to keep it there. You can change the font though if you want. Change the font size for reading purposes, all that stuff. Now the headers are what these separate the categories from each bar. I like the 2 lines. You could have none, but then visually I like to see a little something there. You could have the default Blizzard one, which has a little fancy fleur. That doesn't really match with my UI. You can do 1 line, or I like the 2 lines, and then you change the color. As all these things are very self-explanatory. You can also show the number of quests that you have, 10 out of 25, etc. Also, if you collapse this thing, you can set it right here with the collapse quest tracker. I like to have none, because when I collapse it, I want it to truly be collapsed. You can say how many quests you have, though. I've never really cared about that too much. Like, I don't need to know how many quests I have out of how many quests I have. I just leave it as none. And then, whoop, there we go. That's the keybind. A shift and a mouse button is one of the things I have. I have a 12-button mouse. One button opens my quest log and map, and the other button, shift version, hides my quest tracker. So it's one single quest button on my mouse. But anyway, this is that binding right here. I have a shift, and that's a mouse button right there. All right, moving on to the next thing. Quest item buttons. There, like I said, whenever you have this, there's going to be sometimes whenever you have a quest that has an item associated with it that you have to use, it's going to be off to the side. These are the settings I use for it, and I do have the enabled active button, and I have that bound to Y on my keyboard. I do use ESDF. I have a video on the channel of why I use ESDF, so I've shifted my hand over. So the default setting, that would be T. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's an odd time to use it. You don't use it all the time for the extra action button thing. Moving on down, other options. These are just miscellaneous options. These are the settings I use for them. There's some cool things you can do whenever if you hold down Alt, you can click a quest. Holding down Alt, left clicking the quest, and it pops up. There's the quest, and you can search for it on Wowhead, copy paste it into your browser, and you can look up that quest on Wowhead. Wow, that's pretty amazing. There are lots of different quest options to be able to just truly be able to help you do the quest. Kaliel's quest tracker just goes so far and does so many awesome things. That's one of them. You can get notification messages. I usually don't mess with this too much. Achievement messages, cool and fine. You can also have quest sounds. I, in general, don't really have the quest sounds on, but you can set them up here if you would like quest sounds. And that's really all the settings you have right there. Now into the actual quest tracker itself. Q is your quest log. This is the little easy button if you want to be able to get to here. I have the key button bound. A is achievements. It's the same thing. You can click this to be able to see your achievements. This is the minimize button, but I've had that bound as well. So really the key button right here that I ever mess with is filter. There's so many cool things you can filter to. Filter all, you can filter based on if you go to your quest log right here, it has these already filtered out. It's now sorting in that same way. For filter, you can filter by only the Tomb of Sargeras quest, Battlegrounds quest, Dark Moon Fair, whatever. You can filter by just that. There's my Dark Moon Fair quest. Or I can go to filter and I can go to zone specific. And then now it's in the zone that I have. And then this is auto zone. So zone is your current one you're in. It sets it to that and it stays there. Auto zone, which is the coolest feature, it actually changes it permanently and it keeps updating it as you go. You can track daily, weekly quests, instance-based quests, any unfinished quests. That's a really cool feature of what have I not done? Okay, cool. And it kind of lets you get a big picture of what you need to do, and then you can go from there. Achievements even, it tracks achievements for maybe zone-based achievements. Okay, Kalimdor. And now this is going to probably be a massive scroll, so there you go. You can actually sort all those achievements, or if you get overwhelmed, you can just untrack all, and now we're back to normal. The filter is super cool. It also has AutoZone achievements, AutoZone filter for achievements as well. I absolutely love this. In fact, this is usually what I do, and I roll around, and my quest log looks like this. If I am in the middle of stuff, it pops up. I can just minimize it if I want, and there we go. It is a beautiful, beautiful add-on, and if you want to add this to your repertoire, you can click the link down in the description. It takes you to CurseForge. I have lots of other videos on the channel if you want to update your UI in all the different types of ways to be able to play the game as efficiently, as fun as possible. If this video helped you out and you want to support what I do here, you can click the link in the description for Patreon. I super appreciate all of my patrons. So a big shout out to Hikaga and Brittany Young. Thank you for the support, along with all my other patrons. I have all of my Week Wars UI and a ton of different resources available to my patrons to help take these videos to the next level even more. So stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.